Okay, welcome back, and it's been quite a while since we've had our good friend Dan Perkins back with us, and I get his emails. They're always interesting. He's a political commentator, the host of What's on My Mind podcast. He's also an author of a series of romance novels and called Sad Eyes, and there's a picture of the cover of the book on the screen. Dan is anything but sad. He's a happy-go-lucky guy. He likes ice cream, quiche, and apple pie. And he has a couple of websites, danperkins.guru. And he has an amazing outreach to veterans, songs and stories for soldiers.us. And there's a picture of that landing page. Brother Dan, good to see you, man. How are you, bud?
I'm fine, thank you. And yourself?
Hey, when you're around, I'm happy.
Good.
I don't have sad eyes.
Good.
Oh, so much to talk to you about, so little time. All right, the on and off again of deportation, and yet the Supreme Court has allowed the president to cancel protected status for Venezuelans. What's going on here?
It's a situation where you've got the district courts trying to be president, chief secretary of defense, secretary of state, commerce, trying to run the administration, and it's against the law. They can't do that. And so we had a case last Thursday, which was birthright, but tied to the birthright case was a discussion about whether or not there should be some restrictions on district courts judges to issue national temporary restraining orders. And so I would like to hope that once the court establishes the jurisdiction for the district courts, a lot of the immigration problems and conflicts will go away, because the lower courts will have no standing because they are beyond the scope of what they're able to do. Now, I also know that Senator Grassley has introduced legislation to severely restrict the temporary restraining order power of the district courts. So that's what's going on. This is all leading up to the case that we had, which was much more than just birthright citizenship.
Okay, so there's the case, and then there's the jurisdiction.
Right.
The case can be appealed all the way to the Supreme Court.
Yes.
The jurisdiction can be redefined or maybe properly defined by Congress, which they need to do immediately, right?
Yes, yes, and they need to do that to limit that scope of influence on the part of the district is within the lines that were drawn for that district judge to sit on trial. So that's why it's important. If the court does in fact decide that the district courts no longer have the ability to issue national temporary restraining orders, a lot of these cases will be dismissed because they have no standing.
Okay. Okay. So at the end of the day, even though the Supreme Court's ruling on some of these now, at the end of the day, the Supreme Court is going to have to face the question of the executive authority on protecting the United States. And does the president have
Article
that
2.
authority, or does the court have that authority?
No, the Constitution is clear. The president has that under Article 2. I don't think there's any dispute about the fact that the president has the power under Article 2. Whether or not, the question is whether or not do district courts have the legal authority to intervene on a national basis,
Okay.
the policy that the President of the United States under Article 2 has the right to enforce.
All right. I got a bunch of topics. The big beautiful bill ran into some snags. The president, as we speak, is on the Hill lobbying for it. Why are ultra-conservative Republicans wanting to tank this bill?
Good question. That's because they're not ultra-conservatives. They're rhinos.
Because it would seem to me they've never had anybody in their camp like they have with President Trump that they would roll with this. I mean, politics is the art of compromise, so to speak.
Yes, but if you look at the events last week, they had this this ongoing marathon of negotiations of what to do about the big, beautiful bill. And so last week, one of the committees didn't support it. And what did the mainstream media come out? The president's bill is dead. What did we hear on Sunday? Well, over the weekend, the Republicans, through whatever power of persuasion they had, in fact, cleared a hurdle that is bringing it back up. And now they believe they have enough of support to pass it. So again, this is an example of the mainstream media putting the cart before the horse and making decisions and going to have to eat it. So now the scenario is that it'll pass by the 4th of July.
Okay, because there is another can of worms here brewing. If this
only one,
well, on this case, on the big beautiful bill, if these 4 Republicans got their way, they're empowered.
Right.
And boy, they could really mess things up.
No question, no question. And so it becomes the responsibility of the Speaker of the House and the Majority Leader in the Senate to support this legislation and drive it across the line. And I think what Trump went to the Hill today to continue to talk to Republicans and to try and get some Democrats to say, hey, maybe we should pass this because it's a good thing.
Yeah, it's he calls it the big beautiful bill. I call it the re-election definition.
Okay. I don't think that'll be on the cover of the bill.
No, I don't think it will be. Okay. All right. Switching to some other headlines. As we know, sadly, that former President Biden has been diagnosed with an aggressive case of prostate cancer. And our thoughts and prayers are out to him, no doubt about that. The question is, this doesn't appear in 100 days. Is there a cover-up here?
Absolutely. Without question. Without question. I don't know whether you've had the chance yet, but you could get the entire audio tape of the Biden interview. And I started listening to it. I had to go to Boston this weekend for a wedding, and I only got about the first hour, but I will listen to all of it. But it's clear that when he was talking to Joe Biden about various documents that were found in his garage, in his beach house, in the Biden Center, in his offices in New York, or in Washington, D.C., he said, I don't remember those. And he says, I'm not saying I didn't have them. I just don't remember ever taking them or how I got them. So the memory situation. Now, there are some people who are saying that the prostate cancer issue was a political decision based on the damage of the tapes that were released on Friday. I watched over, I think, at least 5 different doctors, including Democratic doctors. And they all said that they don't think it's possible that the prostate cancer could have been advanced to that point in the last 100 to 200 days. And when pressed, the question was, how long do you think it's been there? And all the doctors said, well, historically, these things take between 5 and 10 years to get to this level. If I take the minimum of 5 years, that means when Joe Biden was running for president for the 2020 election, he already had it. Now, here's the thing that,
excuse me.
I'm sorry, I just want to make one more point.
Sure.
This is a very, very difficult situation because, well, we don't wish ill on anybody. The fact that he's got stage 4 prostate cancer, he's had it for some time. Now, what was interesting to me is the number of doctors who have made and I'm paraphrasing the following statement. Perhaps if in fact he has had this cancer at least 5 years, one of the side effects of this cancer and this type of cancer and its migration to the bone is it would create symptoms that could be misconstrued as something else, meaning that we in the press who thought that we were dealing with dementia, in fact, he didn't have dementia. All these symptoms of loss, falling asleep, garbling his words, all these things are classic side effects of this prostate cancer. So it's very possible that Joe Biden doesn't in fact have dementia, but his cognitive ability has been destroyed with his prostate cancer.
All right, so only one quick question comes out of that before I take a break.
Yes, sir.
You're president of the United States. You're being physically examined all the time.
Yes.
And you are physically giving blood tests all the time.
Yes.
You and I, as men, know that shows up in blood tests pretty rapidly.
Right. Well, that, and I don't want to be crude here, but we're also very familiar with the rectal exam, checking for the size of the prostate. So you get the PSA shot, but you also get a physical test to determine has the size of the prostate gotten any larger since the last time that you did the investigation. So yeah, I can't believe that he's gone all this long and he's never had a PSA test. Now the reporters that I saw last night have all looked back at the public record, and there's no ever showing of a PSA test taken by the president. So that was been made public. So we've got a problem here with believability from the doctors who have treated him. And the question I heard asked a couple of times last night, were the doctors in on the cover-up?
Malpractice?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right, let me take a quick break. Check out a couple of Dan's websites, danperkins.guru. Check out his podcast, always entertaining, What's on My Mind podcast, and support his outreach to veterans, which is songs and stories for soldiers.us. We'll be right back. Okay, welcome back. Always a joy to have Dan Perkins with us, and he's host of What's on My Mind podcast. He's also the author of a fascinating romantic series of novels called Sad Eyes. There's a picture of the cover of the book. You can get that online. Check out his website, danperkins.guru, or be involved with his outreach to veterans, songs and stories for soldiers.us. So, Dan, a lot of topics. See if I can get a quick response from you. Yesterday, the president's on the phone with President Putin, and they said that Zelensky and Putin will get together and talk about a ceasefire. What do you think?
I think that Mr. Trump is the only person probably in the world that can negotiate assist them in negotiating a ceasefire and an ultimate settlement.
So Putin and Zelensky just cannot get together. So
no, they hate each other.
So what does Trump offer here?
If I think it's not being talked about very much, but I think straight to the point, if he's putting pressure on Zelensky, number one, saying, if you don't go to the table, you're going to have to look elsewhere for financial support because we're no longer going to support it. Okay. And NATO is not going to support it, and the European Union is not going to support him at the 350 billion level that we have as a country. So he's going to lose significant financial support, which means he won't be able to buy the bullets and the guns and the tanks and airplanes and everything else. On the other hand, he can say to Mr. Putin, we can bring some economic sanctions that will hurt you dramatically and your economy. So he has leverage on both sides. And I have no doubt that the 2-hour phone call yesterday was between Putin and Trump was a phone call of, I don't mean to be disrespectful, but a coming to Jesus moment for Putin to deal with the reality that which faces him.
Yeah, there's indications that's the case, so we'll see in the next couple of days what comes of this. In the meantime, it appears that the United States and Israel circling the wagons on Iran in spite of the amazing Middle East trip of the president. They both have said, President Trump and Prime Minister Netanyahu, Iran cannot have a nuke.
Right.
Iran says, all right, let's talk again. And I think they're saying, no, we're tired of talking because it never goes anywhere. Are you expecting, kind of like me, one day we're going to wake up and something's happened over there?
I think it's possible as early as tomorrow. I mean, I don't know what will be in the newspaper or the press happen. Hopefully it's good. But, I just don't see how the Ayatollahs can remain in power with the tremendous sanctions that America and the rest of the world is putting on them. The people will revolt, and I think that they're on the edge of that right now.
So you think, in addition to dismantling their nuclear system, that there would be a regime change?
Yes, absolutely. I think that once the nuclear situation was taken care of, I believe there are enough people in the country, including the military, who would be very predisposed to going a new direction with the government.
All right. So back to President Trump's Middle East tour. First stop, he picks up $400 billion. Second stop, he picks up $1.2 trillion. And the third stop, he picks up $200 billion.
He's got a great shopping cart, doesn't he?
You gotta kind of go, whoa, what's going on here? And he had all these business guys with him on the airplane. I mean, this is unlike anything we've ever seen before.
No question. And when you compare it to Joe, there's a story, I haven't had a chance to read much of it. The story broke this morning that it appears that representatives of the Biden administration were negotiating with Qatar to get a new plane.
Oh, boy. The plane deal is interesting. I figured out the solution to the plane because, the press thinks that Trump personally is going to get the plane. The plane would go to the State Department, but I have figured out a way to solve that problem and give the plane give the plane to Barron.
Well, I read this is what I read. I don't know whether it's true or not, but I read it, that the deal was they would use the new plane for the rest of his term.
Yeah.
By that time, Boeing should be able to deliver to the new president a new 747 or a fleet of 747s, and that the plane that they're using for Air Force One would go to the
library.
Trump libraries somewhere.
Yeah, I've seen all that. I think the conversion of the Qatar plane would take months by the time Boeing would deliver. All right, so that is an amazing thing. In the meantime, Israel's ground operation intensifies in Gaza. Am I hearing and sensing here that Israel said, no matter what, no more Hamas?
Absolutely. Their objective early on for this attack was to destroy it, was to no longer make it viable. Now, some of us wrote the saying, yeah, we understand the rhetoric, but as long as there's a Muslim available, there'll be enough people that to try and rebuild Hamas. It may take decades to do it, but it's like, I'm sorry for this, sir, but it's like cockroaches. You can never get rid of them.
Do you think, in the end here, is it really possible that Saudi Arabia and Syria could join the accord? Yes.
Because what's happening, Saudi Arabia is the real power in the Middle East, not Iran. And Saudi Arabia is trying to move and has been very successful in diversifying its economy. To Saudi Arabia, it's about economic growth, not war. And so the idea that Saudi Arabia can draw from the resources of America to expand their economic platform across the world, and Syria looking to be in partnership with the Saudi Arabia and America to become more of an economic zone than a war zone. I think when you went through all the numbers of the money that Trump got, that money is going to be helping us grow our economy and provide opportunities for companies in Syria and in Saudi Arabia to come and work with us in America.
What did you think of the heart pump between the prince and the president?
That's what people do today.
I mean, that was pretty amazing, don't you think?
Yeah. I mean, he has no shame. He wants to be. He has an amazing ability to make friendships with enemies, and some are harder to do than others. But he always ultimately gets his way.
Yeah.
And that's what's amazing about him, is that he has that ability to convert people, enemies, into friends.
All right, let me swing your attention back to California just for a moment. As you know, we have sanctuary states, we have sanctuary cities. By the way, Oregon's the oldest sanctuary state in the country. And these have become havens where, you know, bad people can come in and exist, especially illegals. And it looks like that the U.S. attorney in the state of California found a loophole. And that is he's using all the agencies to do background checks within these sanctuary facilities. And if they actually lead to where they have been arrested on illegal entry, that they're issuing warrants for their arrest, which supersedes the sanctuary status. This is an amazing loophole. What do you think?
I think that what we're seeing is the blowback that the people that are left in California know where California is heading. They don't like it, and so they're going to change the direction. And this new U.S. attorney hears what the California people are doing and saying, and is going to enforce the law. And before, they weren't enforcing the law. And the guy who was a U.S. attorney in Los Angeles was known for his leniency with illegals, Garscon, and they took him out. They've had enough of what they were doing of releasing these people back into the community to murder and rape and steal and loot, and they don't want it anymore. So it's even California, the most liberal of liberal states, is the people, the electorate is turning on the elected, and the elected, in some cases, not all cases, but in some cases, are hearing what the people are saying and trying to do something about it, which I think is positive.
Okay, one last question, Dan, and that is, it looks like the president has brought China economically to its knees.
Yes.
And now they want to talk.
Yes.
It's pretty brilliant, but at the same time, what he's put on and taken off, he can put back on again if they don't play ball. Where do you see this going?
Yeah, I think that the commonality between the Iranian government and the Chinese government is you can't trust either one of them, what they say. The Iranian government treats us as infidels. Their Sharia law allows them to lie and cheat and steal and not keep any promise they make to infidels. And the Chinese historically have a reputation of lying to get what they want. So I think that we're in a situation where things are going against them. Not only, if China, think about this, if China makes any reasonable capitulation to Donald Trump, I'm telling you, the rest of the world will fall in place.
Okay.
And Mr. Trump wins the Nobel Prize for Economics, at the same time winning a Nobel Prize for Peace. So I just think that the other thing that China has is their population is dwindling because of lack of repopulation, and they know it. And they've got the children that are left are not interested in having children. So They've lost about 100 million in their population over the last 5 to 10 years. And they could be down to under 1 billion people in 25 years. And so they would be looking at maybe 600 million people that have died and not been replaced. But I have one, if I can, one quick comment for you. Quick. I think that the illness from Mr. Biden and the fact that the pardons were signed by the auto pen are in direct conflict with the rules under the Constitution of the pardoning powers. The president is the only one who can grant a pardon. If staffers use the auto pen to sign these pardons, which they did, there's no way they can do it because the president cannot, under the Constitution, delegate, and therefore some of these pardons may be overturned.
Gotta go, bro. Thank you for your time.
Anytime, sir. Thank you.